All right, let's get started in this. So in my last video, I finished up the last section of W3 schools, and in this video, we're going to get started in about the source for learning C++, and hopefully getting better at this the more and more I do this. Our next source of learning C++ is actually called Learn C++ or CPP.com. It was another source I had found a while back for learning C++ when I discovered that W3 Schools source for learning C++ did not actually include everything, but it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't. I would like it to go. I would like to get more details on how this stuff can work together. That can kind of give me a better picture of what I can do. By the way, this video and videos going forward from here will be labeled with a different title on them since this is a new source. I mentioned it in my last video in the descriptions that these videos from here on out will be labeled Learning C++ NS Part 1. NS being next source. So if you like the video, click the like button. If you have any comments, if I'm saying something that's wrong, you might want to leave them in the comments. That's fine. Comments are open for anything you want to put in there. So let's go ahead and get started with this. A lot of material to cover here. So on the right, we have learncpp.com, and on the left, we have VS Code. In my last video, I said I was going to skip this section, but I don't think I am. I think I'm actually going to cover it. This is just a lot of reading material. And honestly, even when it comes to reading material, I find that I learn it better, not just reading it or reading it out loud, but actually typing it down. So, um, I think that's what I'm going to end up doing is for these videos is reading and typing it aloud at the same time. That way I can get this material memorized better. Multiple ways of trying to force my mind to remember this stuff. But yeah, this first section and stuff, chapter 0.1, it's more of an introduction to this website, C++, compilers, everything to do with C++. I'm not sure if there's anything I'm going to learn in this, but you know what, I'm going to go over it anyways, just in case there is something I discover. So, and the way we're going to do this is pretty much a bunch of comments. So first, welcome to the Learn C++, get that typed in there right though, tutorials. And yes, I may be kind of slow at reading this or slow at typing it, but you know, that's what the practice is all about. Above all else, these else these tutorials aim to make learning C++ easy. And in my opinion, I agree with that because it's a lot more detailed. Unlike many other sites and books, these tutorials, worst case scenario, I just become a better typer in all this, better at typing, better at reading, doing all this, but still. These tutorials, and maybe even better at spelling too, don't assume you have any prior programming experience. We'll teach you everything. Yes, I'm going slow, I'm sorry. But it's my learning process, so it's how I do my best thing. We'll teach you everything you need to know as you progress with lots of examples. So I actually don't think I'm going to actually read through this and the important things I think I'm going to type out because I don't think this was really necessary to type this out because this is just talking about the tutorials, which is what I assumed in the first place. So with a lot of examples along the way, whether you're interested in learning C++ as a hobby or a professional developer, you're in the right place. A testimonial from reader Sima from Trinidad. Okay, so don't know who that is, but here's a testimony here. It's crazy from how perfect this website explains C++ concepts and teaches programming. I read the book, Programming Principles and Practice Using C++ by the creator of C++. I can't pronounce that name very well. And it was rather confusing. And this is coming directly from this source right here. I'm reading this directly from this, just in case you can't see it and read it yourself. And I agree with that. It was kind of confusing, especially for a beginner. If you're not used to, if you've never done C++, I agree that it was confusing. It's kind of hard to read. Um, its website makes it clear for the first time, and they explain everything you need to know. Somehow they know what I don't know. They know what I don't know and what I need to know. It's almost like my future self went back in the past to teach me what mistakes I will make. I like that. Um, yeah, the book itself and stuff. Yes, well, he's got a lot of books out, not just one. And the one I managed to find online here and stuff and start reading. Yes, it was kind of confusing. Um, the creator of C++, his books, he might have a few of them out there that are designed for beginners, but if you start with, and that's why I say there's different steps to learning C++ for a beginner. There's a kind of a get into it, start typing programs or start typing C++ into their website and make sure it comes out right, and then you can kind of check it and stuff to see if it's accurate. It's kind of a dive into it, but it also has a few of the other languages in there too. So if you're not sure if you want to learn C++, you can use those. It's not a very long section, so you can get through it pretty quickly, probably in one day. But then you go into W3 schools and you want to get a deeper dive into the basics of whatever language you want to, and it kind of gives you a deeper dive into it, a bit of more details, understanding it better with more examples and sort of stuff like that. And then if you're going to follow the path of C++, would be the next step for a beginner. You're still, even as myself, a beginner trying to learn the basics because there's a lot of basics involved. More complex stuff would be knowing what libraries to use, building your own libraries, building your own um, functions, classes, multiple files, sort of thing. Um, it would be more complex stuff, and then the uh, end result would be basically you becoming a really good advanced or master programmer and starting to create software, starting to create apps, starting to create games, sort of thing. So the lesson structure here. The lessons in this introductory chapter are aimed to at giving you some context around the C++, how it came about, how programs work, and what software you need to install to create your own program. You'll even write your own first program. Yes, we've done quite a few of those and stuff. I think what it's referring to is even just writing a simple program that prints out to hello world to the terminal that we've been using. Further chapters will explore different parts of C++ language. In the first chapter, chapter 1, you'll get a broad but shallow overview of many fundamental C++ concepts, so we can start writing some simple programs. Future chapters will explore more concepts in depth or introduce new concepts. Each chapter has a theme, with most of the lessons underneath it being generally related to the theme. There is no suggested amount of time that you should spend with each lesson and um, or chapter. Progress through the material at a pace that is comfortable for you. And you see me do that. If there's something that I don't understand, I will not stay in that one spot. I've seen it once. It's not good enough, but for now, that's all I can do with it. There's no point in getting stuck right there and trying to understand what's going on with something I'm trying to learn, but I don't understand. It's better to move on, keep going through it, and maybe the answers will start coming to you later on. Maybe you can find another source to do the same thing, which is what I'm doing right here. Let's move on to goals here. Before we get started, let's cover a few important goals for these tutorials. Cover general programming topics as well as C++. Traditional textbooks do a pretty good job of teaching the basics of a programming language, but they often do not cover the other programming topics that are incidental to the language. Um, from that sentence right there, what that kind of means is sometimes you may, especially with HTML, yeah, you can write a plain black and white website. If you want to add some flair to it, some color to it, some style to it, you would generally need another language to add to it, which is CSS for the most part. If you want to make it more interactive for people that are viewing the website, if you click on this, you can see a picture of this. If you put your name in here, if you do this, if you do that, so forth, so on. For that right there, you might need to add JavaScript or Java. So yes, one programming language can do quite a bit. If you learn multiple programming languages, then that's when it just starts opening up for you what you can do with specific things. And yes, most games don't just have C++ in them or C sharp. They have multiple languages in them. In fact, most software programs, period, have multiple languages in them. If you want to do video, audio, you gotta need to learn um, a couple different languages. If you want to create YouTube channels like this, like what I'm doing right here, right? Why I'm learning this and stuff. So there's quite a few different programs out there for recreating your videos, which are studios. I'm using one now, but it may not, either one, you may not fully understand the program yourself, and there's no tutorial for it. Not always, anyway. Sometimes there is. So why not build the program yourself and you know exactly what it does? And when you need something different in the program, you can just add it yourself once you learn the language. Um, it takes a little bit longer, but yeah, once I get this learned, yeah, I can sit there and create my own um, studio that will do exactly what I want. If I wanted to stream to multiple platforms, for example, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, etc., all at the same time, since I built the program, I know how to get it to do that. Also, if I want to pull the chat from those platforms into one chat instead of having multiple chats, because I've got two monitors, I can't hold everything on two monitors. What do I need to do? Buy 6 monitors to have what I'm streaming, the studio on one, chat on another one, something else on. No. If I want all these right here, why not just build something instead where all I got to simply do is have one screen where I am streaming from, and then a studio that literally has tabs on it or whatnot for every different thing. And I can split the screen into two different parts and make the chat one and have multiple tabs in the other one. I mean, there is a vast amount of different things you can do with programs. A lot of things even require spending money to get them and stuff. Well, if you can learn the language and stuff, why not just create it yourself? Yeah, some people don't have the time to do it, learn the stuff, but it is what it is. You make time for things you want to do, especially if they're important, and you sacrifice some things if you don't have time for it. And for most people and stuff, they'll sacrifice a lot of things in their life for kids. So we do make sacrifices for things that are really important to us. Moving on to the next line, for example, books with omit sections on programming style, common pitfalls, debugging, goods or bad programming practices, and testing. Consequently, by the way, I'm not sure how up to date this website gets, but they do seem to do a pretty good job, even in the navigation section and stuff. They tell you what's going to end up getting removed, what's going to end up changing, sort of stuff. So I'm thinking that someone is doing a very good job about keeping up with this website. Anyways, moving on. Consequently, by the time you finish this book, you may understand how to program in a language, but you may also have picked up bad habits that will come back to bite you later. One of the goals of these tutorials is to make sure that all these incidental topics are covered along the way. In this section, uh, there is naturally where it naturally makes sense to discuss them. When you finish, you will not only know how to program in C++, you will know how not to program in C++, which is arguably as important. And pretty much the do's and don'ts of writing program. Some things that I mentioned and stuff. If you create a file, if you create a program that will create a file, make sure you close that file back up in that same program. Otherwise, that file is going to be left open in the background. If you use a keyword new and create an allocated spot in memory, be sure you delete that spot. Otherwise, that spot's going to be stuck there until you either one, rewrite the program to fix that spot, or shut down your PC, maybe even turn the power off so it clears out the allocated spot in your machine. So that would be the not program in C++, and what would be the to program in C++ is to get it to do what you want. Don't do this. Oops, hit the space bar by mistake. Don't do this, but do that, sort of thing. Cautions. Anyways, moving on. Provide a lot of examples. Most people learn as much or more from following the examples as they do from reading the text. Me, I tend to learn better from doing examples. When I was working on cars, the only way if somebody would tell me how to work on a car, I may absorb 5 to 10% of what they're actually telling me. If I did it hands-on and they kind of walked me through it, I would learn 50% more. And then if I would eventually over time and stuff, once I would get it down, I could start doing it myself. But where I got 100% of my learning ability from was doing the same thing over and 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 over. Yeah, you can keep repeating that many times and stuff and until it sinks in. They used to call that pounding it into your head. Every time you swing the hammer, you're repeating yourself over and over. Anyways, where was I? Yeah, these tutorials will end of I can't pronounce that word very well. Endeavor. Yeah, I'm lost in that word. To provide plenty of clear, concise examples to show the applications of concepts you are learning. We will also provide as much as possible the twin evils, the eclipse, also known as where um, a necessary or not obvious part of an example is omitted in the interest of space, in the unexplained new concept, where a new concept that might be integral to the example is introduced without any mention of what it is or how it works. Both of these tend to lead to getting stuck. How many times did you see me do that in W3 schools? Hey, here's a new concept. You're going to use it right here, but we're not going to explain it until after you get done using it right here. You know, they kind of understand that stuff, so they're going to introduce it first, and then you're going to use it in an example. Instead of giving you an example with a new keyword, what does this do? And you're typing it in there. I mean, you see me do that plenty of times. Anyways, provide practice programs. The end of many lessons and sections will contain some exercises that you can attempt to answer on your own. Along with solutions, you can compare your solutions against ours to see what we did differently. Or if you get stuck, we have how we solve the problem. When you go back and refocus on the areas you need more work on. For example, my reading ability, it's definitely needs more work on it. And I'm not sure if it's my ability to read or my eyes ability to focus on the words because I have such bad eyesight. Could also be my dyslexia too. So a lot of things working against me, and I'm doing my best, the best I can. Anyways, moving on. More importantly, have fun. Programming can be a lot of fun. Yes, can be a lot of fun. It can be very stressful. Can take up a lot of time. Can be kind of hard if you don't understand what you're doing. But overall, in the end, if you end up creating something amazing and stuff, there's a really huge sense of accomplishment with that, in my opinion. At least there is for me. Anytime I would fix a car and stuff, there was a sense of accomplishment. This car's not working the way they want. Well, now it is. I fixed it. I fixed it as cheaply as I possibly could with the best quality in mind. And therefore, when they get in their car and they drive off and stuff, they end up coming back. That is potentially the idea that I want. They come back and stuff because they got a new problem or because they just want to say, car works great, thank you very much, sort of thing. Never really had that too much, but I mean, it does happen sometimes. We used to have people all the time bring us food or drinks and stuff because they appreciated the work we did on their cars and the honesty we give them. Anyways, programming can be a lot of fun, and if you're not generally having fun, you're not in the right mindset to be programming. So yes, if you're not having fun learning to write C++ or write any code period, um, then most likely it may not be something that is going to work for you. In my opinion, and there's a lot of us out there and stuff, we do things that we just don't enjoy, but we do them because we have to. Um, And I wouldn't say I really want to rephrase that. I don't think we do it because we have to. I think we do it because there's something important in our lives that we want to maintain. And the only way to maintain it is to continue doing what we're doing. So we're sacrificing one thing, our happiness with work, to maintain our happiness elsewhere. So I wouldn't really say so much it's a thing that must be done. I would think it's more like a sacrifice you're making to make sure that another part of your life is working. Anyways, next sentence here. Tired or unhappy programming makes mistakes, and debugging code tends to make much longer than writing it correctly in this new place. So often you can save yourself some time by going to bed, getting a good night's sleep, coming back to the problem. So pretty much saying that, for one, if you're tired, you're probably not going to program very well. If you're hungry, basically, if your focus is not on writing your program, then you're probably going to make a bunch of mistakes, which is something I do quite often. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a movie I'm watching, it could be a game I'm playing, it could be these videos, it could be learning C++. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be the most enjoyable thing in the world. If I start getting fatigued, tired, my focus is not on what I'm doing anymore. And therefore I'm going to start making mistakes. Everybody does that, in my opinion. You're sitting there at work, you're doing your job, but you had a problem last night and the washing machine broke and you don't have the money to fix it. So when you go to work the next day, whether you enjoy it or not, your focus may not be on the actual work you're doing, especially if you own your own business, sort of thing. It may be more on the idea that you got a broken washing machine and you need to get it fixed so you can do your laundry. Or a broken water heater, so when you get up in the morning to take showers now, you are taking cold showers, which we all understand how much that sucks. But yes, that's our focus. If our focus is not 100% on what we're doing, then you're going to make mistakes doing it. I really like that. I compare that with the whole idea of the idea that we can multitask. uh, a mother, single mother, holding a child, cooking food, and talking on the phone at the same time. Where's her focus at? Is it on the important thing? Which one of those is more important? The child, the phone, the food? Um, so with her focus split in multiple directions and stuff, she's just, in my opinion, she's just lucky that something with one of those three didn't go wrong. The child didn't reach for the stove or the phone or yank on her hair. Um, the phone didn't get dropped on the floor. She's paying attention to the conversation, whether the conversation has to do with someone in a hospital or a job, sort of thing. Uh, And I understand. I mean, there's a lot of people out there and stuff that end up becoming a single parent because of an issue that happened in their life. And things start causing you to have to split your focus. But when things start causing you to have to split your focus like that, try to remember which one of those is more important and put a little bit more focus into that. Because once you start getting tired and stuff, your ability to focus 100% of what you're doing on one particular task is reduced. So if you're running three different tasks, you got 33% of your focus on all three of those tasks. You actually may not, when you get tired, it may only be 20% of the time. Anyways, moving on. I'll probably cover this one last section right here real quick, and then I'll stop the video right there because, like I said, this might get boring. This is more just talking conversation. You're welcome to put comments in there on anything I'm saying. Share your stories if you want to. Um, this is going to be quite a long section as far as parts are concerned. When I went through W3 schools, I think there was a grand total of 61 different parts plus. This will probably be closer to 200 or 300 parts. Um, all right. Getting the most out of these tutorials. As you go through these tutorials, we recommend a number of practices to maximize your learning experience. Uh, Type in the exercise by hand. Okay, so we are doing that. We have the screen split to where we have our source on the right and our VS Code on the left. So we won't be typing in the experience, but if you don't have a text editor that you're using, then yes, I believe you can type in the actual exercise itself. I believe you can clear out all the code, type it in there yourself, just to get used to it. I believe if you want it to come back, in fact, I will go ahead and test that right now real quick. I know where I am, so I will find an exercise real quick and see if that is even possible. We got an exercise right here. Okay, so yes, no, right there. Okay, so you can copy it and post it to something else. So if you don't have VS Code or whatnot, even without VS Code and a compiler, you can still get used to typing this stuff. And let's see here. For example, so even without VS Code, compiler, or any that stuff, even if you don't have C++ and you want to get used to typing this. In fact, I'm going to enlarge this a little bit so it can be seen a little bit better. No. Okay. So use this example right here, and so it doesn't seem like you can type into this. There may be other sections where you can type into for this website, but I mean, you see this example right here. Even though it may not run, it doesn't mean you can't sit there and type it anyways. Include IO stream int main, because this right here does not have any of the added features whatsoever. Oops. Any of the added features of VS Code. So everything I'm having to do here, I'm actually having to do manually. And yes, it's going to mark things down because C++ is not in here, so it has no idea. Notepad has no idea what this is. I don't really care if it knows what it is, though, or not. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and downsize this just a little bit. There we go. And there's a lot more typing involved with this method. And yes, it's indenting quite far, but that's probably because I've got it so enlarged. Okay, oops. Simple enough. I wrote the entire thing down. I didn't copy it. I wrote it all down. That is the best experience I'm going to get right there. But I use VS Code. I don't use this. And even if you don't have VS Code, something that'll run the program, this right here will still work just as well for learning it. You know what this will do. If you're a beginner, you may not, but if you have followed me through the W3 schools material, you know exactly what that'll do. This right here Actually, this right here is including material for this right here to work. This is our main function right here. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. There we go. This is our main function right here. This right here is going to output that right there into a terminal if we run it. We haven't really discussed that. W3 Schools didn't really discuss that, but this website will. So we'll get to this right here. Honestly, you don't even need that, but this will cover that in details on why it's there. Going back to where I was at now. So type in the example by hand. This will help you learn where you can commonly make errors as well as become familiar with various diagnostic messages that result from typos as you enter each line. Now, once you get this done right here and stuff, if you decide this is just for the exercise, but if you decide to go and get VS Code or Visual Studios or whatever your compiler or your text editor is or IDE is, you will need, if you want C++ to work, you will also need a compiler. Um, Depending on the text editor, you're going to have to either add, download, or something to get C++ to work on your system. For VS Code, there's extensions for that. I don't know about Visual Studios. For this right here to work, I'm pretty sure I would have to type in the files, but I'm not positive. Either that or else put the files into a folder with this file right here, but I am not sure about that. Which this file right here is quite big, but yes, it would have to be in the same folder as this file right here for it to understand that and actually run this right here. Um, Anyways, moving on. This way you can get used to the errors, your typos, whatever. As you enter each line, think about what it does, which I do. I think about what the compiler is going to do, not so much about what it does. So the compiler reads this first and includes whatever files are in that library right there. This is the main function it's going to go to and stuff, so this is where the executable line is. This is the execution. So, um, yeah, think about as you type each line, think about what it does, how it contributes to the overall program. If you encounter anything that you don't understand, that's something to investigate further. Um, yes, if there's something you don't understand and stuff, like I said, don't get stuck on it. Don't sit there and try to figure it out. Give it a couple minutes. You can either one, walk away, come back, or two, keep moving on and come back to it again after you've gotten through all the material. And maybe the second time around, it will make sense. Maybe you figured it out later on in the material. Getting stuck on something is just a way of spinning your wheels and going nowhere. Next section. As you make mistakes or find bugs in your program, fix them. Try to solve your own problems before asking others for help. Yes, definitely. Learning how to find and fix errors can critically skill your successful programming. Don't neglect learning how to use debugger. There's no debugger in this. I would have to actually add that to this as well. Uh, we'll explain how in the future chapters. It's a key tool to figure out where your programs are going wrong. Yes, because that can it can help you learn, help you teach you what you need to do, what you need ads, whatever. Um, Keep moving on. Experiment with examples. So yes, you've seen me do that multiple times. Take an example and rewrite the code in the example to see what I can do with it. See what I can remember for the most part. Change numbers and text to see what happens. Modify the program to do additional things, etc. Um, if a program adds two numbers, make it add three numbers, four numbers, 10 numbers, 20 numbers. Try to find different ways to break the program. So add in letters, add in symbols, see if it still does it that way. If it doesn't do it that way and stuff, then try to figure out a way. And there is a way to get symbols and numbers, symbols, letters, characters to add with integers. There is a way to do that. But first you have to get it to recognize the character, the symbol, the letter, etc., as the value from the ASC2 charts. And then it will add those two numbers together. Granted, you'll probably lose your character, but there is a way to do it. If a program asks you to enter a number, try to enter a letter instead. So yes, if you write a program that's asking you for information in a terminal as a user, then yes, try to enter a letter. If it accepts the letter, try to figure out a way to fix your program so it won't accept that letter. Um, you'll learn more about modifying the examples then by simply following them. Yes, and you see me do that. First and stuff, I was just following the examples, but since I've been through this material a few times and stuff, yes, I have been working on modifying the examples to see what all I can do with it. Plan to spend some time with the quizzes if you to if you're new to programming, you may find these challenging, and that's normal. As your brain, give me just a second. Sorry about that. As your brain acclimates to the programming mindset, do not get discouraged. Um, if you don't get it right the first time, try it a second time, try it a third time. Don't get discouraged though. If you are someone that easily gets discouraged, stressed out, upset when you don't get it right the first or second time, skip it, move on, step away. It's something that I have learned that to do quite frequently because I used to get very upset about things. I found out that getting upset about things and stuff is only going to actually harm yourself. When you get upset about things, your blood pressure goes up. You might end up with a headache. So it's unhealthy when you start stressing out and getting upset about things. And that doesn't mean just this. That means anything in life, period. You are actually damaging yourself, your own body, your own mind. Um, and it's just so much easier. You step away, shut it off. I have grown so much since I used to do that, and I am so much better for it now. Anyways, you may need to try several different approaches before you find a path to success. It's okay to look at the answer if you're really stuck. So yes, I do provide answers so you can look at the answers and stuff and try to figure out how it came up with that answer. That's a great way to learn. Just make sure you understand how the answer was provided before proceeding. Try to understand it. If you can't figure it out right away, don't get stuck on it again. And then later on and stuff, you can, once you start getting more comfortable with it and you've seen me do it, start working on trying to write your own programs using concepts you've learned. This will reinforce force what you learned. So some of these exercises, when we do them and stuff, you'll see me add a lot of things to them, subtract a lot of things to them, modify them in many different ways and stuff. And that's for me to try to figure out what I can do with what I'm learning. Okay. So that right there is running into 37 minutes right there on this video. I think we're going to stop right there. We'll pick up with this section right here, and then we'll be able to move on. Real quick, I just want to mention this. So the green section right here actually takes you to the next part of the chapter or the next chapter period. The back to contents, which you can also use this up here to navigate the back. Previous lesson takes you back. There's also comments in here from other people that have gone through this material. So yeah, I mean, don't hesitate to come down here, post some comments. They left that there for this section right here. Um, yeah, there's more information down here below besides just the material. People add things to these all the time, so don't hesitate to take advantage of it. Again, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you have any comments or anything you want to add, discussions, whatnot, etc., put them in the comments. I think that'll be it for this video. When I come back, I'll finish up this section right here, and then we'll move on to the next section for this chapter right here. Like I said, this is going to be quite long. Probably 200 or 300 parts to this altogether. Quite a bit of reading. Things I'm not going to understand, things I'm going to misspell, so forth and so on. But I will see you in the next video.